In August 2022, hackers gained access to a LastPass developer's computer through an unknown vector. Once that developer successfully authenticated to the dev environment with multi-factor authentication, the hackers used his account to exfiltrate LastPass source code and other proprietary technical information. After 4 days of persistent access, LastPass detected anomalous activity in their development environment. In response, they contained the breach and revoked the hackers' access. Then they conducted analysis of the source code and production builds for code poisoning or malicious code injection, which they did not find any evidence of. They then decommissioned that development environment and rebuilt it from scratch. Boom, problem solved. Just kidding. Then in November 2022, LastPass detected anomalous activity in the third-party cloud storage that hosts their data backups for the production data. In their investigation, they found that hackers somehow used the information they exfiltrated during the August 2022 breach to target another employee and obtain cloud storage access keys and dual storage container decryption keys for the production data backup. Not a good look for LastPass. It really raises more questions than answers. How did the information from the first breach lead to the breach of the backups? And is this something they could have determined during the breach in August? Or was this actually discovered and they just never fixed it? Then the story gets worse, but before we go any further, let's talk about personal security. Maybe you live in a country with an untrustworthy government who accesses the ISP. Maybe you don't like being spied on by your ISP. Maybe you use public Wi-Fi. Security professionals use Proton VPN for their personal devices because unlike other VPNs that claim they don't log data, this Swiss company releases privacy audits to prove it. Unlike other VPNs who don't offer connection to the Onion router, Proton does. Proton offers a slower free VPN and a high-speed paid VPN. If you're interested in a VPN, support us by using our link in the description. Now back to the LastPass breach. On December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas, when most companies' staff are on vacation and security teams are generally on higher alert for strategically timed attacks, LastPass dropped a bombshell. In the less concerning part, they announced that back in November, the hackers had exfiltrated customer account information and related metadata, including company names, end-user names, billing addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, and the IP addresses from which customers were accessing the LastPass service. But it gets worse. Hackers also exfiltrated backups of customer vault data, which is stored in a proprietary binary format that contains plain text website URLs, as well as encrypted sensitive data such as website usernames, secure notes, form-filled data, and most concerning because LastPass is a password manager, hackers exfiltrated the user's encrypted passwords. So, what does all this imply? Well, for script kiddies, they exfiltrated a trove of plain text user data, which they can use for phishing and social engineering campaigns. Then there's the more sophisticated attacks. The hackers will likely analyze all of this source code and other information, which may lead to discovery of new 0 days and other ways to breach the LastPass systems. This could lead to discovery of where to sniff plain text master passwords before the hashing process. This doesn't sound very likely, but given the August breach led to a follow-on attack, who knows? LastPass has had critical vulnerabilities discovered and other mysterious bugs that led to outages and security issues that they didn't seem to have a good handle on, so it raises concerns. Now to the exfiltrated encrypted passwords. The passwords in the vault are encrypted with 256-bit AES encryption and can only be decrypted with a unique encryption key that is derived from each user's master password, which LastPass claims they do not store. When the master password is entered into LastPass, it goes through anywhere from a few thousand to 100,100 rounds of hashing. This is called the password-based key derivation function. The final hash is used as the decryption key. So on the surface, this seems pretty secure. But a Verge employee wrote that he checked their older account using a link the company includes in its blog. It told them their account was set to 5,000 rounds of hashing, also called hashing iterations. More rounds of hashing slows down any brute force attack and requires more processing power. Important to note, the master multi-factor authentication used to log into LastPass is only used to initiate the login process to LastPass, but has nothing to do with encryption of the vault or key generation. This is because multi-factor authentication codes constantly change. Multi-factor authentication really just prevents account takeovers. To perform brute force master password attacks to decrypt the password vault, the hackers will need to reconstruct the environment from the stolen source code, technical data, and the vault data. LastPass publicly states they use PBKVF2 SHA-256 hashing algorithm and AES 256 encryption. Even if it wasn't public information, the hackers could get this by analyzing their code. Then there are some variables that may be unknown to the hackers and could present a challenge in brute forcing the encrypted vaults. Depending on the LastPass database configuration and how they encrypted the vaults, there may be information they need but do not know, such as the initialization vector or the key values which identify the specific relevant vault data in the database. But given LastPass data that brute force attacks on the stolen vaults are possible, we'll assume they have everything they need from the stolen source code and other stolen technical information. We assume LastPass didn't change much of the source code or technical information after the first breach. The hackers may also be able to find clues to the puzzle by analyzing the LastPass app and/or browser extensions. In 2018, LastPass changed the default hash iteration to 100,100, but as we saw earlier, the accounts from before 2018 may still have 5,000 iterations. It's unclear if the hackers can tell how old the accounts are from the stolen data. LastPass also allows users to set a custom amount, which would make those vaults harder to crack. So they may just have to assume the standard 100,100 rounds of hashing, which won't work for all vaults. Security researcher Nazmar Kuda demonstrated cracking the encryption of the password vault by extracting the encrypted password vault, key value, and hash iteration count from the SQLite database from the LastPass Chrome extension. He cracked a weak password via brute force, leveraging the Hashcat tool on an M1 Mac. In security researcher Nazmar Kuda's case, access to the computer with the installed app or browser extension is needed to extract that one specific password vault. In the LastPass hacker's case, they have everyone's password vaults. LastPass has brute force protections such as lockouts, but the environment the hackers reconstruct will not. The hackers likely have systems with much more powerful GPUs and can spin up multiple instances to perform simultaneous brute force attacks. They have everyone's plaintext emails and usernames so they can identify the high-value targets to prioritize. Weaker master passwords will obviously be cracked first, and stronger ones will take more time. It really comes down to how much processing power and resources the hackers put into the brute force attacks. There's also the possibility on the horizon that quantum computing could one day break the current encryption standards. Once they successfully brute force and gain access to all the passwords in the password vault, some stored passwords may be associated with multi-factor authentication. LastPass does store multi-factor authentication information for customers, but it's unclear if hackers exfiltrated that data too. Hey, remember to check out Proton VPN. The link is in the description.